All right, well, here we are driving today with George Georgopoulos, the head of North America sales at Dope Security. George, welcome to this Cybertruck.
Awesome, and thanks for having me. And I am the head of sales for the Americas.
Okay.
But primarily focused on North America. Not that we want to leave our friends in South America behind.
I apologize.
So, but no, it's all good. So for my South American friends, you know what? We will not leave you behind for sure.
Tell me about your first ever RSA. When was that and what was it like?
You know what? You know, I kind of thought about it, and Kunal and I were talking about that. My first RSA was probably when I first started in cyber and selling. So this is going back probably 15 years ago. So a lot has changed since then. But I think the cool thing about these events and just being in San Fran, obviously, I mean, you know, having Silicon Valley and all this technology, but just look around. I mean, look at the beautiful weather we have here today. There's nothing like, I think, San Francisco. I know there's a lot of talk about folks moving RSA out of San Francisco, but to be quite honest with you, I think they need to keep you here. I mean, you look around, there's nothing like the RSA conference. You're not stuck indoors. You're outside. We're having conversations in a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
So a lot has changed. I can tell you 15 years ago, I wasn't in the Cybertruck.
No.
For sure. But the big difference, I think, is just the amount of vendors and the amount of folks that you see that has changed. And just, you know, tech has evolved since then. So I think it's great to see that people are continuing to push the envelope. So for me, being that green, starry-eyed, young sales rep that was getting started in tech, I was kind of taken back by it, but now I look forward to it every year because of the collaboration and meeting folks like yourself and talking live as opposed to having these Zoom meetings.
Easy to have Zooms at any time you want, but getting together and amongst the community is actually really fun and interesting and powerful, right? And if I was a CISO on the expo floor and you bumped into me and I said to you, so what does Dope Security do? What would you say to me?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. And we get that.
I'm sure you do.
And we get that often. I mean, first and foremost, I mean, I'm sure you can see with the jean jackets.
You guys are not short of strong branding.
And the thing is too, though, I think it's important. And I think it goes to what Dope stands for. I mean, again, we are in San Francisco, and for those, I'm from the East Coast, as you can probably tell from my accent, is everyone here uses the word dope, you know, in every sentence. And what does it mean? And for us, what I would tell a CISO is, you know what? We are bringing a very unique, beautifully designed, easy to use, with attention to detail, very easy for the user to use our security product. I mean, that's what we're really doing. Because at the end of the day, we're parental controls for your employees. And that's what Dope does. We've built the SWIG, right? And it goes to, we're not reinventing that. Every organization in the world today uses a proxy or secure web gateway. What we're doing is we're doing it in a very unique way, built from the ground up with design in mind. We want to make it easier.
Is design the unique thing about it, or is there something under the covers that is very powerful?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think, you know, to that point, I think first and foremost, when you look at security tools in general, you know, a lot of these tools you need a PhD to use. For example, what's very unique about Dope is when I first interviewed with Kunal, and, you know, me being a salesperson, he said, okay, great. You want to head up sales? You want to come work at Dope? Download the product and demo it for me.
Oh.
And I said, Kunal, you do understand I am interviewing for a sales role. And we chuckled. And the unique thing is I went in, I downloaded the product, I was up and running in 5 minutes. And the great unique thing about Dope is whether you're a designer, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a salesperson, whether you're the person that makes the coffee in the office, everyone at the organization can use Dope. Very unique, first and foremost. But the unique thing about Dope is we're bringing the user experience to the forefront. When we built the product, Kunal sat down with our designer and we built the UI first with that in mind.
And that's the UI for the admin when you see a user,
Correct.
not necessarily the end user who might get blocked or
Correct. So the
help.
user, the ultimate user experience from first experience being download our product. Again, you can go, for anyone that's listening, you can go right to our website, download our product using your Google or your O365 account, and you're up and running. It's our production environment. So it's very, very important for us. We're not trying to hide anything, right? So I think we're very unique there. But for anyone else that's out there, the unique thing about Dope is, as you can tell from my jean jacket, there's an airplane on the back of that. We fly direct. What does that mean is we're not rerouting traffic, right? We're not, so going to the internet, we're taking the user directly to the internet. So for the legacy solutions that are out there today, they're asking you to reroute their traffic through their data centers, perform SSL decryption, and then have the user go out to the internet. We're actually performing all of that on the device, which is very unique.
And that speed that gives you, or what else is it give you? Security as well, because you're not
100%. So right out of the gate, the first thing you're going to see is performance. We're going to be 5 times faster than those legacy tools. You don't have to worry about outages. Some of our competitors had a few outages over the course of the last few weeks where employees and users were impacted. So for us, you never have to worry about outages. And from a security perspective, no data is ever leaving your device, nor is it going to leave your network. So there's definitely a lot of benefits from that perspective.
That's great. Let's talk about go-to-market now then, George. So,
Sure.
We're in an interesting time where, what worked for pipeline generation even 3 or 4 years ago is not working nearly so well now. When you look out 2 years, what's going to be the state of pipeline generation?
Yeah, that's a great question, and coming from a salesperson, but I think it goes back to, if you look at, what an organization, like what we're doing today, I think it's very, very important. There's always that age-old question, is it brand marketing versus lead gen? I think at the end of the day, you have to incorporate both. And for companies like us that are new and innovative, I think brand awareness is very important in everything we do in regards to attention to detail and doing those sorts of things. So for example, before I got in the truck, I was stopped by a bunch of folks that said, "Hey, Dope, I saw your Cybertruck. Dope. Oh, those are great jean jackets. Oh my God, we love what you're doing. Oh, by the way, what do you do?"
Right.
Right. So from that perspective, I think those are the sorts of things that are going to change, where I think a lot of organizations are going to move away from that traditional go-to-market from a marketing perspective.
Well, I think it was interesting, good and bad, is that, the branding that Dope has brought is very noticeable. It's powerful. It's strong. But by the same token, the bar is very low out there. There's 3,600 vendors right now in cybersecurity. There's 400 plus at RSA this week. And if I'm being perfectly frank with a lot of people, their branding, their presence is very the samey. And you guys are really standing out right now. And I really admire you for having the courage, for one thing, to do it and realizing it can have such a big impact.
Yeah. And this goes to, again, just going back to the name. Dope. It means passion. I have wearing instructions on this jacket. Be passionate, be bold, right? Everyone that works here at Dope spent many, many years at these larger companies, right? Just being a number in these companies where necessarily, hey, these folks that are here at Dope were very, very talented folks at these other organizations, including myself. But you weren't really giving the opportunity to go and push the envelope to really do those sorts of things. Now,
No.
did those companies really care about the user experience or a specific use case that needs to be fixed for someone? They'd rather just push out and Frankenstein something and get it out the door. The difference with Dope is our attention is to the end user, is to our customer. And with every customer we onboard, we're solving real life problems with them. That's the cool thing about it. It's not just, we're not a company. When we say Dope, it's a brand. Everyone that works at Dope shares that same passion. and wants to deliver that ultimate experience, that first class experience to our customers and anyone that we interact for that matter.
And do you notice, can you tangibly say, you know, like the example, the story you told just now, can you say, look, every day at RSA, we get 15, 20, 30 people stop us and say, you know, I like the jacket, like the Cybertruck, like what you guys are doing. Can you put a number on that sort of impact?
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, just yesterday, like, again, I'm not out there in a traditional marketing sense. You don't see me with the scanning gun.
No.
I'm not scanning any badges, but the amount of conversations that we're having. I mean, I can tell you yesterday, there must have been 1,000 people that stopped to take pictures by the truck and inquire about what Dope is doing, or had they have seen our CISOs in cars video. So I can tell you now, the big thing, and this goes back to your earlier question, what changes in regards to go-to-marketing and lead generation? For us, it's always about referral and word of mouth. Like, we have a great investor in Google Ventures. So having Google Ventures and then being able to say, hey, we have Dope Security, and they can go to their network and say, these guys are really doing some really cool and passionate things and really care, really opens doors, right? So I think it's a kind of a snowball effect to, having that guerrilla brand marketing where we're out there doing things that aren't necessarily traditional, and having those folks that are out there that are going to go make those referrals. For example, we have CISOs that have downloaded our product, bought our product, and will stand on mountains screaming, hey, use Dope, right? So I think, I don't have any in numbers, but I can tell you now, we just left a meeting today with a Fortune 50 company that ran across us yesterday and immediately wanted to meet with us today.
It's incredibly powerful, and you're going to get I'm sure you get some haters, but because you're doing things different, right? But it's so powerful when you do it right, and it really sounds to me, what I'm picking up from this conversation is there's real meaning behind this for you. It's not let's look all cool. It actually infuses into the company how you're doing things, how you approach things as well, and I really love how you're doing that.
Yeah, 100%. And and I got to give kudos to Kanal and the folks that started Dope and the vision that they had 3 years ago. Because, listen, I'm not a spring chicken. I've been doing this for a long time, and I look at Kanal and I was like, sometimes I said he can be my son, right? Very smart, by the way. He'd be my very smart son. I'd be very proud of him, by the way. But it comes down to his vision and his passion that resonates with everyone through that organization. So it's not a marketing gimmick when you see, like, obviously he has an eye for fashion. I mean, these jackets were hand painted by his friends in India.
Wow.
And these, they're not made. So everything within our jackets and attention to detail can be seen in every aspect of our solution, which, means something. Yeah. And you know what? The end user and our customers get to reap the benefits. And I think that is, at the end of the day, our mantra is, hey, we just want to use and build and have folks use a security product that just works. Okay. We just want it to work.
Don't ask it too much.
But you know what? It shouldn't be that hard. And the fact is, here at Dope, we have that opportunity to go out there and shake things up.
What's one thing that's widely believed to be true in sales and marketing that you believe is complete bullshit?
Good question. I think just what we've been talking about here. Like, for example, I can tell you right now, there's a lot of CMOs and marketing folks kicking themselves in the ass and saying, why did we not think about that Cybertruck, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, I just think that I think just ways of doing things, right? The traditional ways, and people continue to do things the same way, I think is kind of BS, right? Because because it's maybe in a handbook, and because everyone in security has been doing this for the last 15 years. Take a walk through the show floor. Like you said, if somebody's not saying AI or ML and they're talking about zero trust and all these buzzwords, it's in everybody's marketing shtick today. I think, people need to be unique. I think that's kind of the bullshit of things today, where it's like everybody kind of is just doing the things that they're expected to do, as opposed to pushing the envelope and really building something that people can actually use.
One of the things I've talked about on the podcast before is the idea that at early stages, you have to be bold. And because to stand out, right, there's 3,600 vendors. And that's the time to be bold. You got nothing to lose at that point, right? You might get people who don't like what you do, and you'll get some that love what you do. But that's the time, because the alternative is you got the blue website with the white text on it and the blue logo, and it's maybe got one other color on it, and you use the same buzzwords in a different order, and no one will ever know who you are. And I think, what I see from you guys is actually very much the opposite of that, right? And you're really going out there and try and break up the bullshit and try and be a little bit different. If you're looking at your plan for this year, let me ask you a kind of either or question.
Sure.
Would you rather that you had more leads at lower dollar value or less leads at a higher dollar value?
Looking at it from a sales perspective, I think this is going to vary with different organizations. The good thing is, and you mentioned Bold, like our seed investor, Bold Star, and then our investor, Google Ventures. The cool thing about this is they believe in what it is that we're doing. So at the end of the day, it's revenue, right? It's like we want to onboard customers that believe in us. We want to onboard customers that are a fit for Dope, and we're actually solving real problems for them. So I think at the end of the day, I think it's a mix of both for us. I mean, I can tell you now, we have customers that are 300,000 users, and we have customers that are 50 users, right? There's value in what it is that we're doing across the board. From a leads perspective, it doesn't really necessarily matter to me if they're qualified. And and we can offer a solution for these folks and really solve their problems. To me, it doesn't necessarily matter. The end goal is the same, right? If you got to get to 5 million, how do you want to do that? I would prefer, you don't really want to do it in one deal, right? I'd rather do it in 10, 20, because it kind of just goes to show that the masses are adopting you, right? So
if you were to counsel a more junior sales rep who's desperate for wild success.
Don't go into cyber.
Sell something easier than
sell vacuum cleaners. Well, again, I guess vacuum cleaners would be cyber and with the tech nowadays. So.
Yeah, they're all connected, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you had to counsel a more junior cybersecurity salesperson, and they're saying, look, I've got some time every week I can get better at sales, would you say to them, and this is an either or, you can't say both, would you say to them, go learn more about your product and the problems that it solves? Or would you say, go learn more about your prospects and their lives and the worlds and the problems that they have?
Oof, you want one or the other?
Yep.
It's selling, right? So, at the end of the day, it's a very personable thing that we do, right? It's interaction. For me, I like the relationships. I've been doing this for 15 years. I can still tell you I have relationships with the folks I first sold to. We're friends 15 years later. Why? I may have sold someone a shitty product, but at the end of the day, I didn't misconstrue anything. I was on the up and up. We tried to help make things better. So at the end of the day, these are the sorts of things I think that you're always going to carry with you. And I think the relationships that you go out there and build are going to always last, right? Because salespeople are going to come and go. I can leave here tomorrow and can bring someone else in, but the relationships and, the things that I learn about the people that I work with on a day in, day out basis are going to be very important. I would say to them, you work on those interpersonal skills and listen. As salespeople, we don't have to do all the talking, right? So at the end of the day, like I always say to folks that are either starting in sales, whether I'm mentoring someone or someone that's been doing it for 15 years is, hey, that person that I'm trying to sell something to, they have issues, they have problems, they have children, they have things that they're just trying to pay bills like we are, right? And we need to be understanding. So I think for me, and again, this may not go for everyone, but for me, I really would stress that for folks that are coming up, because I think, sales is not an easy job, but I think if you can make it fun, I wake up every morning happy that I'm at Dope, happy that I get to talk to different people every day, and happy that I get to help people solve problems.
So you would definitely go with understand your prospect better, make sure you know them inside and out, and build those relationships.
I would,
Yeah.
yes.
Very cool. Well, George, let's play a game here. Fizzle or sizzle. Which of these do you think is going to sizzle, i.e. keep going and grow and be important? And which of these is going to fizzle out into nothing over the coming weeks and months, years? Ready to play?
Let's do it.
Fizzle or sizzle. First one is Cybertruck.
Oh, sizzle.
You love it?
I love it.
What do you love about it?
The lines, you know what? I mean, this goes to, I mean, I'm sitting in it, and for those folks that can't see it, you know, being here at Dope, we put a lot of attention into design, and there's a lot of thought that went into this truck, right? I mean, just for those, I mean, look at this windshield. I mean, the size of the windshield, the design of it. I mean, the clean lines, the colors, the tech that goes into this. I really, really love this truck.
I can see how you would. I mean, there's nothing about this which is the same as everything else out there.
It's different. I mean,
completely different.
And yeah, and the fact that you can probably run over many of these cars that we're driving next to now is something else. But you know, it's a cross section of tech and brawn, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and it's definitely unique. I mean, you're driving it. What do you think?
It drives really well. I don't drive a truck back home. I drive a SUV. This drives pretty well. The steering wheel is unique. It took a bit of learning for me because, you know, this is all just a little bit different. How does this work? How do I change that? Obviously, the console has got a big role to play in a lot of you try and do. But there's no clutter here whatsoever at all. And it's sleek.
And I have to say that, I mean, Canal drives a Tesla, and in California, I've never seen so many Teslas in my life. So, but I think, I think it's definitely, I think the Cybertruck's here to stay.
All right, fizzle or sizzle, the Palo Alto played to be the cybersecurity platform.
Oh, we were just talking about this yesterday and today. You know what? I think there's sizzle in that.
Okay, tell me more.
mean, and I think, you know what? I think, you know, we were having this conversation yesterday, and someone said to me that actually worked at a competitor of Wiz. And I'll bring up Wiz because people are talking of Wiz today and saying, oh, they're ever going to overtake Palo and overtake these things. Listen, if you look at Palo, no organization in the world today can live without a firewall. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you look at, you know, companies like that sit in the middle of infrastructure and things of that nature, I just think that they're in a position where, you know, they're not going anywhere. I think the only challenge there is going to be where, you know, as they acquire more organizations, is how do you do, you know, how do you integrate, and how do you not Frankenstein these sorts of things? So I think that's where it's going to be the challenging piece. But I mean, you know, Palo is Palo. I mean, they're going to continue to do what it is that they do. So
what would you say, talking about Wiz, right? So this morning they announced they took, $1 billion at a $12 billion valuation. In 5 years' time, do you think Wiz is going to be bigger than Palo Alto or smaller than Palo Alto?
Yeah, going on what we just talked about, I don't think they'll overtake Palo, just based on the fact of the core business of Palo, right? The core business of Palo, I mean, again, right? It's their, everyone needs a firewall. I mean, it's from an infrastructure perspective. I mean, you cannot run without it, because that is their core business. I mean, it'll be tough for Wiz to overtake Palo from that perspective. But I mean, I think time will tell. It depends how many acquisitions does Wiz have. And then again, right, it's the same thing. Do you stray away from your core use cases, right, and your core competency? And do you start bolting things on? I mean, and again, I would love to get your take on that and what you think.
I think that it takes a lot to build up to $100 billion valuation. You got to have a lot of substance there, so they'd have to acquire to get there. And then the question becomes, how well do they absorb these acquisitions and make them play? Historically,
because they haven't really done it yet.
Not really, right? And, historically companies in general are not good at that, right? I was at McAfee for a long time and we screwed up quite a few acquisitions. We got to a good model actually towards the end of my tenure there. And we're getting value from the acquisitions, but it's hard to do.
You guys did buy SafeBoot way back then.
Way back in the day.
I was at the competitor. I started my my cybersecurity career at Udamaco, which
really?
was
yeah.
the competitor to McAfee.
Yeah.
And we were eventually acquired as well. So, and that's a very, very long time ago.
Yeah.
So
I think for Wiz, it's a great question of if they, I'm not saying this is something they should shoot for, but they'll have to get through their acquisition. And the question is, how do they cope with that?
agreed.
So let me ask you, what's harder? Be honest, by the way, what's harder right now, growing pipeline or dealing with your CEO?
You know what? I love waking up every morning and doing what it is that I do, right? Because again, like you said, I've been selling for a long time, but I think what's really important for me, it's definitely not dealing with my CEO for sure. We collaborate, and that's one unique thing that we do at Dope is, for example, like we don't have a CMO, right? So when you see these trucks and all these things, I mean, these are all collaborative efforts. So the opportunity for myself, or if it's Erica who's in design, or Amar that's in finance, or Aiden that's in product management, everybody has a say in what it is that we do regardless. So I think that makes it a lot easier. Now, I can say some ideas will get vetoed, right? And obviously that comes from our CEO. But then I think at the end of the day, definitely, I think everyone's in the same boat in regards to going out there and generating pipeline. But you know what? I think if you do things the right way, and being here at an early stage startup, it's setting expectations, and I think executing on a day in, day out basis, and obviously loving your CEO is always beneficial.
In all sorts of ways.
In all sorts of ways.
All right. What's a bigger waste of money? Buying this Cybertruck or getting a booth at Black Hat?
And I think there's going to be a difference of opinion. But for example, a few weeks back, Kunal and I had the wonderful opportunity to go to Dallas for an event, and we had various sponsorships available to us, and we opted for, hey, we're going to have the Dope logo splashed out during breakfast, and we'll mingle. And they were like, oh, you also get a tabletop and you can put your stuff on. We said, I'll tell you what, keep the tabletop. We don't want it, and we're not going to go sit inside at a booth and pass out Rubik's Cubes to folks. Right. Because the real value is getting out there and speaking to these folks. So to be honest with you, for me, I think Black Hat is different because you're in Vegas and you're stuck inside. Now, if you were to say to me, would you do a booth at RSA or a Cybertruck? I wouldn't do a booth at RSA because I think all the conversations that we've had have been meaningful, have been out in the sun, on a walk, grabbing a coffee, maybe inside the Cybertruck, or just out and about. So I think people are going to have to figure it out. But I can tell you for Dope, we won't be spending any money on floor space anytime soon.
Okay. That's fair enough. And what's a bigger waste of time? Driving around in San Francisco traffic like we are right now and it's so slow, or reading the sales advice on LinkedIn?
I try not to read the sales advice on LinkedIn. But again, I think it's just like anything else, you have to sift through content, right? And is it meaningful? Are people just going to go out there and regurgitate, sales methodologies that are known, that are tried and true, or are they going to bring something, unique to the table? So, I mean, I'd rather be driving around here in the Cybertruck and shooting the shit with you for sure, as opposed to reading a lot of things that go on, because there are opinions for folks, right? What works for me, this is my 6th startup, right? So what works for me and what I've learned along the way is like, what can I really go out there and post and offer advice? Like, I'd rather really sit with someone and, have them drive around with me or spend a day or a week with me and see what it's really like to run sales at a very early stage startup and the amount of work that goes into it, right? So that's my opinion.
I like that. I like that. And now probably for the most important question of them all is, do you think Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce will make it through the postseason?
Man, because I do have 3 young girls and I don't want to have to explain to them why they broke up and, why Taylor Swift may be crying on national TV, I have to say they're going to make it through for the sake of my daughters at home.
You're a believer in love, if even though to make your own life a little bit easier.
Well, I mean, and on the Taylor Swift note, I mean, I live in Rhode Island, and actually Taylor Swift owns a home in Rhode Island, and I actually drive my daughters by her home, and they always wonder why there are big gates out there and why they just can't go and knock on her door.
Well, George, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today and going for this drive. I wish you guys every success in your very bold moves this year and beyond.
Hey, this is great, and I look forward to many more conversations with you, even if it's not in the Cybertruck. I'll do it in the Prius with you as well.
Very good. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.